We are live.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 2 of the Swoosh Hoops podcast. And today we have our man, EricL in the building. Nick fan, you know what I'm saying? I know he's very excited what's going to happen, this coming season. Let's see. It'll be good to have some great basketball in New York City. All right, we have the Nets already, and let's just make sure we get the Knicks. We get a nice rivalry going there.
Don't worry,
Next
we're good. We got tips.
up, next up, we got my man Armani Armstradamus, big time Laker fan. You know what I mean? Kobe savant as myself. Got some exciting things happen for the Lakers this year.
Yes,
As we
sir.
as we hope and pray, there's a lot of question marks, as we know, in the lower hanging fruit of the Lakers are too old and all that good stuff. But needless to say, as that segues into our topic for today's episode. As you know, episode 1, we did a preview of our own takes on the Eastern Conference and what we expect those teams to kind of do this year, the moves that they've made, and for that, and listen to that, guys, and just for a snippet, we all agreed that probably the Nets, if they're healthy, they're coming out the East. But got some hot takes on that episode, so make sure you tune in and listen up, and started with episode 2. So let's get it.
All right, so the first team up, the Utah Jazz. Finished first in the West last year. Disappointing finish in the playoffs. Lose to the Clippers in 6.
Unbelievable.
The way
They
they
had the
lost,
upper hand too.
the way they lost that series up 2-0, and then just imploding. Kawhi Leonard goes down with the ACL injury. He missed the entire postseason, but still the Clippers hang on and come back. And Game 6 just ended terribly for the Jazz. A big at halftime, like 18 third quarter, and just let the Clippers walk back in and win it and end their season. So looking at the roster right now, they mostly kept everyone. They added Rudy Gay,
Yeah,
and also added some front court help with Hassan Whiteside. Don't know how that's gonna pan out. We'll see. They're kind of real heavy in the 4 position with Royce O'Neal, Eric Pascal.
They have a lot of 3-and-D guys. Pause.
Yeah, a lot of 3-and-D guys.
Yeah.
So let's see how they what's the word? Focus on the rotation of his roster. Still got Donovan Mitchell. He just signed. He signed that extension. Bojan Bogdanovic, Joe Ingles, Mike Conley still there. So, and also the 6th man of the year, Jordan Clarkson.
JC.
This team finished with 52 wins last year, 51 wins. What do I expect from this coming year? Another solid season from Utah. So I see him finishing first in the West. Remains to be seen. They can finish from being the 1 to being back in the middle of the pack of the West, because the West, to me, the Western Conference has gotten it's a little bit weaker, but a little bit deeper. And we'll look into that later during when we talking about these teams. Other than that, I think the main focal point is Donovan Mitchell, to see if he can take his game up to an MVP level. I think he really needs to break out. He already has breaking out. I want to see him do more. I know he got called out by Shaq during the playoffs, and he kind of took that in a grain of salt. But for him to be a top-notch MVP candidate, I need to see him do more. I need to see him take the initiative, and I know he was dealing with injuries last year during the playoffs, but I want him to see him do more, and I need him to really step his game up a little bit more to see. And if the Utah Jazz really want to get back into being a Western Conference contender, NBA Finals contender, a real serious contender in the West. What are your thoughts? Start with you, Ernest.
The Jazz, I think, are going to be the 1 seed, only because I feel like again, you're going to have certain teams in the West who take games off because they're going to factor health more so than anything. Utah has been a great regular season team. They won 48 games, I believe, the last 7 seasons, if I'm not mistaken. Um, so I'm looking at a 56-26 record around that threshold. I just think Utah. It's a tough place to play on the road. They were. It is a tough place to play
No,
on.
yeah, we know.
Right. We know.
Yeah. We're not gonna get into it, but
We already know the stories. We already know
Russell
the
Westbrook
stories.
definitely knows for sure. But yeah, and again, I always go back to the dog days of the league. In mid-February, it's going to be tough to win in that environment because that crowd is crazy live. They were a great 3-point shooting team last year. I expect that to be the same because they just have a barrage of just shooters, on the floor at all times. So the thing that I want to see that's going to get them over the hump, because I don't think they're a championship contender. They remind me of the Raptors when they had DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry. Like they would win 50 plus games,
They will
be a
always be
force in
there.
the East.
They cannot get over that team.
Over the hump.
Right, because then you have like a superstar player that can take over the game for them. What I'm expecting, in order for Utah to get over the hump, they need a guy that can expand his game more than what it is, and that is Donovan Mitchell. That's where my attention goes. He's an awesome scorer, one of the great elite scorers in the game right now. Reminds a lot of people of like a miniature D Wade. I like to mix that in a little bit with like Tim Hardaway, or another guard that was explosive like him. I would say like a Derrick Rose-ish type of player he is. He's just a better shooter.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. He's freakishly athletic. But the key for him and this whole Utah Jazz team is defense. And it's funny we say that because they had the Defensive Player of the Year,
Right.
which I think is just a popularity contest. In my opinion, I don't think Rudy Gobert is the best defender in the league.
Mm-hmm.
I just think he's tall, and that's why he doesn't affect the game in ways where if you bring him out on the perimeter, he has to, be able to handle a guard on the wing. He's not as mobile as that. He's just very long and lanky, so it's easy for him to get blocks, deflections at the rim. But he's not a good on-ball defender. He's kind of horrible almost. So, and other bigs can take advantage of him who have a better offensive repertoire, like if you say Embiid or Anthony Davis, Jokic. Like those guys can easily dominate the game against him because he's not as a mobile or agile defender. He's more of a rim protector. And in the game today, where you have more than half the league, have an uptick in shooting threes, his services is kind of lost in the sauce. So for me, I think we're going to have to see a jump defensively from Donovan Mitchell. Like he's going to have to be the guy that's going to be that elite defender to make him a top 3D, right? A top two-way player is what they call it, right? If he wants to be in that conversation with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and whatnot, like as a great defender and a great scorer, he has to be a
player.
Yeah, and he's not a good defender. He definitely gets picked on defense a lot.
Well, he's also small as well too. Like he's smaller than a lot of people think.
That's true. But defense is about effort too, right? Like,
that's true too.
You got to be able to at least disrupt. And Dwayne Wade wasn't a great defender, but Dwayne Wade can
he showed the effort. Right.
Yeah, exactly. So And that could be due in part because his energy is being exerted so much on offense because the offense is so heavily relied on him creating for everyone. Um, so I'm interested to see how the approach is going to be this coming year. Is Donovan Mitchell going to be more of an off ball type of guy, or is he going to be the guy with the ball in his hand, setting up everything and setting up the scoring, or are they going to give more of the reins to that responsibility to Mike Conley?
Mhm.
Right? So you can kind of exert. You don't have to exert so much energy from Donovan Mitchell, and that way defensively he can add some of that spark that he has on offense. But needless to say, I think the Jazz will be probably a 1 or 2 seed in the West. They'll be a great regular season team, but when the playoffs come, we all know I think what's going to happen there. So.
All right. I'll start
And
on
I
my
don't get the addition of Rudy Gobert and well, not Rudy Gobert, of
right
Hassan
side.
Whiteside. I think I understand that they had favors last year, but like I don't know why. You don't need more big men. I think they need to be more nimble and more spread out the floor a lot more because their strength is shooting.
Yeah, I would just start like I would just go continue with that. Like they just signed low key just another Rudy Gobert. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So especially when those teams are playing small and you really don't have much leverage. You really don't have that what are you gonna do? You're gonna have Boban play your center? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like even though he
yeah,
can defend, like he can't defend like be a presence in the paint. You know what I'm saying? He's a great perimeter defender, but as far as like, you got for example, let's just say if they meet the Lakers in the playoffs, and we just happen to go small, he's not guarding AD, but not many few can. You know what I'm saying? But I'll just start by saying, Jazz, I could see them going 53 to about 57 wins. Ernest, just like what you said earlier, like a lot of teams, well, yeah, especially in the West, they're going to start to take like this regular season lightly because they're trying to be mindful of health and their postseason run. They don't want to put that postseason run into jeopardy. Um, as far as that, I'm just concerned about the health of Mike Conley.
yeah. He's been
Um,
injured
He's been
for
injured.
yeah,
consistently.
I'm
Yeah,
just I'm
I
just
don't know if
concerned
it's
about him.
age or if it's just like he just gets injuries.
Just injured, yeah. And I feel like if Mike Conley was playing, I feel like they would have at least made it to the Western Conference Finals. And I just think him coming back in that, I believe, game 6, because that was his first game back after like missing like 2, 3 games or something like that. I feel like he kind of threw off their game a little bit, trying to get back into rhythm and also trying to win an elimination game. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's just my concern right there, just the health of Mike Conley. And I believe that if if Mike Conley can like I don't know for whatever reason just go back in time and get the Memphis days, and that would definitely help out Donovan Mitchell so Donovan Mitchell could play both sides of the ball because Donovan Mitchell has been improving since that season in the bubble when him and Jamal Murray was going at it, and then the next year he was doing his thing. Now it's just like, bro, you can only go up from here, and he's like quickly creeping into that like you know top 15, top 10 players in the league. I believe he's top 15, but like top 10, he's kind of creeping up there. But if he wants to show people, show the doubt is like, yo, I belong in this MVP conversation. I want you to take me seriously. Then like also it starts with defense.
Yeah.
It starts with the effort. You have a lot of people compare him to Dwayne Wade, and Dwayne Wade has affiliation to the Utah Jazz. So we seen it during the playoffs. D Wade was in his ear, like, "Yo, you do this, you do that." You know what I'm saying? Give him like pointers and stuff like that. So I believe Donovan Mitchell and D Wade connected over the summer, like ways to break down his game to make Donovan Mitchell a better player. Because
Right.
I remember, I believe it was 2008 Redeem team when you had Kobe, Wade,
Mm-hmm.
Bosh, J Kidd.
Mm-hmm.
Kobe was looking at D Wade like, yo, how do I break down these pick and rolls? Like, this is Kobe Bryant coming
Right.
to Dwayne Wade on how to break through a pick and roll. So the same way Kobe went to D Wade for pointers, I believe the same way Donovan Mitchell go to D Wade and like to find out ways to make him a better defender. Um, Now, as far as like Rudy Gobert and I like the team that they have, and I agree with you saying that that they're going to be the team that's always there. They're going to be really, really good in the regular season, but when the playoffs comes, like they're not going to really make any noise. And I feel like we all felt that way, you know, like when the Utah Jazz was number 1 seed, we was just like, oh, they're not gonna make no noise in the playoffs anyway, just because like that's just comes with the Jazz, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
no offense, but that's just what comes with the culture of the Utah Jazz. Like, ain't nobody's checking for the Utah Jazz, you know what I mean? But I like the team that they have. A lot of 3-and-D guys. You got Rudy Gobert and JC coming off a award-winning season, so hopefully they can like show us some more this year. They added some depth with Rudy and Whiteside. But yeah, I'm gonna say 53 to 57 wins.
I got them winning around 54 to 50, around 50 to 54 wins. They're gonna win. They're gonna win those games at home because they're always tough at home. They're a solid road team. They've been like that for the last couple of years. I'm just worried about matchups in the playoffs. Like, if they get a good couple rounds because of their matchups, then they'll be fine. If they somehow slip up and catch the wrong team, like a la Dallas or I'll say Lakers or Clippers, then we'll see problems of them not getting far into the playoffs like they did last year. So I think it also depends on health, which goes in hand with Mike Conley. I think they need a trade for a backup point guard just to give Mike Conley
Some insurance.
a breather and
Yeah.
insurance, and just in case he's injured, they can use that for the spell to give him a couple weeks off rest, and at least to have that point guard solidified during the time he's out. So I think they need to go out for a backup point guard. Also, the front court's a little bit jammed, a little bit locked up. Too many forwards for my liking. The sign of Rudy Gay is kind of interesting. I know they need more punch in their offense after last year, but I'm not sure if he's defensive wise he's not that type of player he was back in his Memphis days. But I see why they signed him. So that's my little summary on them, on Utah. So the next team, the team that made it to the finals last year, that no one predicted,
Exceeded a lot of
Suns.
expectations. They exceeded
This
a
team-
lot of expectations.
This team exceeded a lot of expectations. Remember, 2 years ago, they went to the bubble, finished undefeated. They won the last 8 games. Last year, they got to a slow start. They're trying to implement Chris Paul into the whole lineup. And then by around, let's say, mid-February, they took off. And then there was a lot of uncertainty on how the Suns they were performing the playoffs, how Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton and those young guys, how they performed in their first playoffs. Not only that, how they performed well, they exceeded so much. They exceeded a lot of people's expectations, and also, but the thing is, they didn't finish. That was my issue. They didn't finish. They had a 2-0 lead in the finals and lost the last 4 games against the Bucks. Kind of disappointed on that finish, but this year I see them coming. I could definitely see them being they're a finals contender out west. Your thoughts?
I'll start off by saying, unfortunately, that was Chris Paul's last chance, you know, and I know us basketball fans, NBA fans, you know, whether you hate him, whether you love him, we all wanted Chris Paul to win that championship, you know, because there's been so many times he's gotten to that point and he just unfortunately got hurt. Now, the time that he finally made it, like, he was up 2-0 and, you know, he had games where he showed out, you know. We was all like, yo, Suns going to win. But then he had games where it's just like, that's not like you turning over the ball, like having bad shooting nights. Like, what's up, Chris? But
especially in the finals series, especially in
yeah,
the
man,
finals.
yeah, and the thing is, throughout the whole postseason, he had games. Remember, he started off the postseason hurt with the arm injury.
Yeah.
So he was hobbled in that Lakers series, but he had moments in that Lakers series where he was killing the Lakers, and then he had moments in that Clippers series where he was killing them. So yeah, it's just unfortunate that that's what happened, but unfortunately, that is just Chris Paul's last chance. But I will say, DeAndre Ayton and Cameron Payne, they came to play. Last season, I didn't really, really look at Cameron Payne too much, but I could look at A and was like, he's not it. You know what I mean? Like as a Laker fan going into that series, I was looking at A and like, man, AD gonna give him the business, even though AD was hurt. But I'm like, Aiden not standing a chance, but Aiden was getting buckets. Aiden was giving you a double every night, you know. And then with the addition of Cameron Payne, like when Chris Paul sits, just being a scorer, facilitator, like you didn't really have a game plan set against him because he was just doing all these incredible things, you know. Like as far as scouting him, remember when he got drafted, they were saying that he may not make it in the league. Oh, he's not a basketball player, something like that.
Yeah.
He turned all them doubters wrong with his performance in the playoffs. So him and Aiden definitely showed out. I seen that to my next point, I seen that that they also picked up JaVale McGee, which I felt like that was much needed. Especially when those teams have like for example, you know, when you're playing against the Bucks and you have like Giannis who's just trying to get inside that paint, you need another big, I need a big body to hit him.
Because DeAndre Ayton, he was getting killed during that series. He was getting killed in that series.
After that when Devin Booker lobbed him the ball and he blocked Ayton, I feel like the whole momentum just switched. It was like game breaker and like NFL Street, you know. But yeah, man, that was a clean pickup to JaVale McGee because JaVale McGee is underrated, man. The man has 3 rings and Olympic gold medal. Like, put some respect on JaVale McGee's name. So that was definitely good.
Who saw that coming?
Who saw that coming? Who saw that coming?
JaVale McGee.
Facts.
Shout out to Shaq.
Who saw that coming? But remember, Dario Saric also went down with injury as well too. They also lost Torrey Craig as well too. And he also gained Landry Shamet, which is another shooter. You know, sometimes he can be hit or miss, stuff like that. But, you know, another 2-guard who can come in and knock threes.
And they also picked up Elfrid Payton. Thank you very much.
Elfrid Payton, yeah. So, I mean, the Suns, they didn't regress too much and they didn't progress too much. So I could kind of see him in the 50 to 55 wins range. Definitely a contender in the Western Conference. It's just health. And by health, I mean Chris Paul. You know, like I don't feel really strong that he's going to have a season that he did last year. And if they make it to they will make it to the postseason. I don't see them having the same postseason run. But it all starts with Chris Paul. So.
Oh man! All right, I'm not going to be too nice here with the Suns.
This team kicked our butt.
so let me congratulations to the Suns. They did what they were supposed to do last year. Injuries are a part of the game, but I'm letting you know right now when Anthony Davis was healthy, they were down 2-1. So let's not forget that, right? And the second round, they played the Denver Nuggets, who didn't have Jamal Murray. Conference Finals. They went to 6 games against a Kawhi Leonard-less Clippers. Okay, that's how they got to the finals. Now, I'm not going to take any credit from them because they did what they were supposed to do, and it gave us some new life in the NBA. Right, like you're starting to see some stars, and you're starting to see teams that's never been there be there, which is great for the league. But let's just be real here. Like we have to just be real with all of this. Like. We all know the Clippers would have beaten the Suns. We all know the Lakers would have beaten the Suns. The Nuggets, you can say it's a toss up, but I can see the Nuggets also beating the Suns because again, if you look through all those three teams that they had to face to get to the finals, LeBron and AD, right? You can say the best duo in the league, right? Not right. Then you go to Denver, the league MVP, who didn't have his second best player with him, and then you go to the Clippers, who you have the arguably you can say the two best wing defenders in the league. So I'm gonna pump the brakes a little bit on Phoenix. I think the experience was great for them as far as their young guys and their future. But as you said, Armani, the window was closed for Chris Paul because I just feel like the Suns, the Suns' path to get back to the finals and win it is going to be insurmountably harder than it was last year.
Yep.
I do see them as a top seed in the West. Contenders, I don't know. I don't think I can call them that. I have to see Devin Booker develops into after what we saw. Like, is there going to be a jump in his game? Right? Is there going to be improvement on the defensive end? Are we going to see how is that experience going to come to fruition? So, getting JaVale McGee was really good because obviously with Darius Saric out, you need a backup big. Kaminsky, not Kaminsky. What was his name? The backup center.
Frank Kaminsky.
It was Kaminsky, right? It was Frank
Kaminsky,
right? Yeah. Frank Kaminsky is not going to cut it as your backup center, right? So picking up JaVale McGee was actually really key for them. Adding Elfrid Payton. I know Knicks fans can't stand Elfrid Payton, and maybe I haven't experienced Elfrid Payton on a team that I liked. So I don't know what that pain feels like or that frustration.
You're gonna need his defense, but his offense is gonna kill you. That's why. You're gonna need his defense. His defense is good, but his offense is just, my gosh.
I mean, I like him, but I also think you have Elfrid Payton. I mean, excuse me, you have Cam Payne. So I think Cam Payne obviously is going to be the sixth man. Are you going to run a dual point guard lineup? You're not going to do that off the bench. So I think he's just a guy that's as a vet, who's in there. He has some experience with the Suns. He was there before. So it could just be a cultural thing that they just wanted to add to that locker room. But all in all, I think the Phoenix Suns are a legit lock playoff team. But I have to see what they do against fully healthy Western Conference contenders to kind of really judge them. Because it literally every series they went through last year, and yes, they were tested, right? But I think that was just to do inexperience. But I have to see now with that experience, are they legit? And the playoffs will show that. So I got them winning 54 games ish around that threshold, 54 to 57. I think they'll be a number 2 seed. I think we get to repeat what happened last year with the Suns and the Jazz fighting for the 1 and 2 spot, and then we'll talk about the rest of the teams afterwards. But yeah.
All right, so the next team up, the Denver Nuggets. No Jamal Murray. They're gonna miss him for most of the season that's coming up. Aaron Gordon re-signed with them 4 years, $92 million. They got Jokic back, the reigning MVP. Jeff Green, they signed him.
They got the Green brothers.
Yep, Jermichael Green and Jeff Green.
Jeff
very, very, very underrated signing in my books.
Is there a shot green though?
We'll see.
All right.
We'll see about that. Michael Porter Jr. is a wild card to me.
Jeff Green from KD's game, and was that game 6?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sheesh. They got a legit guy, man.
So to me, this Nugget team is a wild card team because they can finish with the best record in the West, or they can finish in the middle of the pack. I think the Jamal Murray injury is going to hurt them for the majority of the season. Do I see him trying to come back and probably late in the season, or maybe maybe try to get a push into at least start playing in the playoffs? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Um, Michael Porter Jr. is a wild card on his roster. If he can really show like in what he did consistently, like he did last year in spurts, this team could be really really dangerous in the West. Know about Jokic league. There's no doubt in that. It's very interesting to see where they stack up against the rest of the pack in the West because I really like them, but the Jamal Murray injury before last year during the playoffs, really really hurt the Nuggets, and it's gonna hurt
Yeah,
them again this year.
this year. Yep.
Where do I see him finishing? I can see him finishing probably in the middle of the West, third, fourth, fifth, battling for those last home court spots. And where do I see him finishing up in the playoffs? They can go to Western Conference Finals, or they can lose in the first round. That's how I see them with this team goes. Any thoughts?
Okay. So MPJ is, I've been hearing rumblings that they're trying to trade him.
Yeah, that's
Um,
another issue with that.
right. That's another issue. So like, I can't really see them being really good, like till they can make it to like the Western Conference. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? Like we might have a season like last year where everybody gets hurt and the Nuggets just find a way to make it to the playoffs. But Jamal Murray's injury is definitely going to hurt them. Um, I they also got to figure out the health situation with Barton. Every single time, like he's hurt.
Yeah, he
Um,
was also missed last year too.
yeah, Monte Morris definitely stepped up in the playoffs. He was the reason why they was able to get over the hump against Portland. And when is the Denver Nuggets going to unleash Bol Bol? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. He has skill. Maybe is that like they're
He's,
working on his conditioning or something because like the dude is real skinny. you
you
know,
saw you saw what he did in the bubble like a couple years ago.
right? That's what I'm saying. So we're just like when are you gonna unleash him? Kind of like it reminds me the same way where we had THT, and by we I mean the Lakers. Like when we had THT, it was kind of like when we let him off the leash to go play. I feel like every time Bobo is playing, it's either garbage minutes or it's just like, or if they're really down with injuries, then he gets like, all right, go ahead and play. I feel like them losing JaVale McGee really hurt them as well too because behind Jokic, they don't have that front court help. Like I feel like if you have a starting center on your team, like when he goes to the bench, you still need that big body. Somebody's going to rebound. And then you also need that other guy who's going to have to play small too. So earlier, the news broke out that Aaron Gordon had re-upped on I believe it was like 90 million, 4 years contract or something like that.
Yeah, 4 years, 92.
So if the Nuggets go small, I could definitely see him playing the five. But it's just like, all right, like you might need somebody else to fill that void. But as what I got the Nuggets, I can't really see them going that far, but because of the circumstances, like what the injury is, MPJ going to get traded, the health of Will Barton, I see him at 45 to 40 wins, and I feel like a lot of the role plays that they had the previous seasons, I feel like they lost them all. They were kind of like the bare bone of everything. Like they lost Jeremy Grant. Last season he went to Detroit, and then all the other guys, the supporting cast, is either hurt or they left. So it's like, and Jokic is coming off an MVP season, so Jokic is going to have to do more. Like Jokic is the only MVP that can come to mind in recent memory where people don't care about. Like, and it's sad, and it's really sad. But yeah, I got them 45 to 40 wins, middle of the pack for the Western Conference.
Denver Nuggets. Jokic, I actually think Jokic is gonna be better this year. I saw some like video or whatever picture I think it was where
Ever since he lost weight, he gotten
he
better.
lost. Yeah, he lost a lot of weight. He lost even
Yeah.
more weight. I heard he's like shredded now or whatever. But
Oh,
Oh boy.
shit.
Oh boy.
yeah,
Oh
so
boy.
I think they'll be better. The concern for me is obviously Jamal Murray's health. But again, ACLs players tend to bounce back really good from those
Mhm.
nowadays with the new technology and stuff like that, and new medicine. But aside from Jamal Murray, because he's not going to come back till mid-season, right? Now you got to think what do they look like sustaining a backcourt of Camacho and Morris, right? Like, what does that look like?
Campazzo?
Yeah, I said
Yeah.
Campacho. Yeah, Campacho. Excuse me.
I was like, what?
So yeah, like I don't know how, considering how tough the point guard and the shooting guard position is in the West right now. If you look around the league, right, you have Westbrook, Dame, you have PG, you have all these guys who play those positions, right? So in the West, so it's kind of tough to kind of gauge what they're going to do. Jokic is going to have to carry the load in conjunction with Michael Porter Jr. Can he step up and be the second guy? Right, and that's the thing. Now, could it be to his detriment, right, where that becomes a trade piece, right? We don't know, but it could be. But I think the Nuggets they'll stay afloat. I think they're strong enough to at least still be in contention without Jamal Murray, and then when Jamal Murray comes back, um, they'll be way better. I see them teetering around 47 games. Fourth seed ish, fourth to fifth seed around that, just avoiding the play-in probably. Only because we don't know how Jamal Murray's going to look, and then obviously if Michael Porter Jr. is like, hey, I'm the guy offensively, right, with him and Jokic, and they develop a chemistry, how do they reingratiate Jamal Murray into that? The extension of Aaron Gordon does nothing for me. I think he's just a piece that they needed. I think Jeff Green is actually more valuable on offense for them than Aaron Gordon will be, because he can spread the floor. He's a better shooter, and he can still kind of defend. Not as good as Aaron Gordon can, but he can still kind of defend. But he's going to be a great addition for them coming off the bench, Jeff Green. So that was a very, very good pickup. He'll play in that Paul Millsap role, and I think he'll exceed better than Paul Millsap in that role. So I think the Nuggets will be a team that we have to watch out for.
He still got some bounce too. Like,
right,
he's still
yeah,
athletic.
exactly. I think Denver will be really good again this year. Jokic, I think, will be in the MVP conversation again. I just think Denver made some good moves in the offseason that I really liked, and I think they'll be a team we have to look out for sure.
All right. Next team up, your Staples Center rivals, the other team in LA.
They need to go to Anaheim or go to Seattle.
Yeah, go to Seattle.
The Clippers. All right, 47-25 last year. They miraculously made out of the second round for the first time in franchise history. It's like,
thanks to Terrence Mann.
Anyway, Terrence Mann, not even their big guys. Terrence Mann saved them from going to Game 7.
Nice.
No Kawhi Leonard for this season. Still got Paul George. They re-signed Reggie Jackson, Serge Ibaka. He's still out with that back surgery. They kept most of the core. Nicholas Batum. Also, they traded for Eric Bledsoe, and they traded away Pat Beverly. Mm-hmm. So let's see how that goes. This team, are they a contender in the West? Yes and no. I'm kind of indifferent about this Clipper team. It's more of they try to show me some. They try to show me some in the regular season, which they do. But in the playoffs, they almost flame out. They almost flame out. Last year, finally for the first time, made it to the conference finals. Are they that type of team that can make it to the Western Conference Finals and be an NBA Finals contender? I don't see it without Kawhi Leonard.
Mhm.
You just need that. You just need that A1 guy just to put you over the top, and he was that guy. Um, Paul George, he can probably can carry you to the maybe second round appearance, and that's about it. I still don't trust Paul George in a big spot. And I know he's been really good last year. He was really good last year, but I still don't trust him in the playoffs. I look for Terrence Mann to be heavy, to be a major part of his rotation, because what he did last year in the playoffs, he really impressed me. So I'm looking for him to be heavy in rotation. I'm also looking at Eric Bledsoe to play a little bit better than he did the last couple of years with the Pelicans and the Bucks.
He's been getting a bad rap around the league
Other
the
than that,
past couple of years.
yeah, he's been getting the bad rap, and then the worst of it was the Bucks winning the championship. That
Mhm.
just kind of
It proves the point.
made it worse for the point.
Mhm.
But I can see plus having a bounce back season. Luke Kennard, they paid him 68 million. What has he done lately? Nothing. Basically, they set him on the bench. He needs more minutes with that kind of contract. Um, um, where they finish up in the West, they'll finish up probably fourth or fifth, middle of the pack. I don't see him contending for one of the top seeds. I don't see him contending as one of the as a finalist coming out of the West. They're more of a second round exit. Ernest, take it. What are your thoughts?
I don't know why I laugh with the
Give me first
Clippers.
about
Like,
this.
oh man, I can't stand that. All right, anyway, I'm gonna get out my feelings again. Non-biased, non-biased. Anywho, all right, let's be real about the Clippers. Um, Paul George is gonna put up MVP type of numbers this year, and I say that only because he's gonna be taking all the shots. The offense is gonna run right through him. Uh, you know, but also what can happen too, right, is injury, and that's the scary part for them. I think it'll behoove them to kind of take that easy and kind of just coast it.
Mhm.
Um, and I know it's tough to do that in the West, but also like you gotta look at it, right? Like we don't know how Serge Ibaka is going to return off of back surgery, right? So he's supposed to come back this year off of back surgery. You don't know what. Usually, I don't like back surgeries. Like it
Yeah,
never
it's a
you
red
never
flag.
recover from those
It's always
things.
a red flag.
It's a red flag. So you have that. Um, is Reggie Jackson going to sustain what he's done in the playoffs after a phenomenal playoff series, playoff performance? I did not expect Reggie Jackson to shoot the lights out like he did. Um, Luke Kennard, you kind of see him finally getting a rhythm with the team. Finally, Ty Lue has done a great job of like finding some spots for him where his shooting is definitely needed. And then you got Terrence Mann, right? And Terrence Mann has shown at the very least, right, especially in that Utah series, he's capable of scoring in bunches, right? But now for a season long because now he's going to be the person who is replacing Kawhi Leonard at the while he's out, right? I do think they need some point guard play, which brings me to John Wall. Um, I think John Wall would fit with the Clippers. I think it'll help sustain the worrisome of Kawhi Leonard coming back. I think the Clippers still be good enough to get in the playoffs or a play-in team. That's where I kind of see them right now as a teetering sixth or
Yeah.
seventh this year. Um, Kieran and Rena Kawhi may return in March or April. So with him, who knows, right? He just may take off the year. So the Clippers, they'll be they're not a team to forget about. I'll put it that way. But I do think they still need to make some moves to kind of like keep this afloat for them. Because yeah, it's their window's closing soon. It's still open, but it's closing soon because you got to see what Kawhi looks like when he comes back. Are those knees are those knees just matter of just chance or just got injured, or is it a thing that's happening literally over time since the San Antonio days where he's losing more and more of that, right? And at to a point, does he get less effective? So we have to see all that. But again, I do think Paul George is going to put up crazy numbers, only because everything has to run through him. But also at the same time, he's going to see a lot of double teams. So I got them teetering as a play-in team or barely getting in the playoffs as a 6 seed.
Okay. I'm gonna start off saying I can see them also playing team about 40 to 45 wins, pretty much with the circumstances that you guys already conversated before. Like Kawhi's injury is like the elephant in the room. We can possibly see him. I feel like it's going to be highly unlikely that he comes back this season. Like just knowing him, knowing the situations that he dealt with in San Antonio, like with the whole doctor situation, sitting out the season, kind of like having the leverage so that way San Antonio could trade him. I could definitely see him sitting out the season. PG has to carry, if there's any time, well, outside of the playoffs, but if there's any time he will still need the playoffs to prove it, but PG is going to have to put up numbers this year. People still may not take him seriously. Hey, that's whatever. As far as like Serge Ibaka, I feel like that was a huge blow to the team. Just because of what he brings to the team. Like as a Laker fan, during last year's free agency, I definitely wanted him on the team. He could rebound, block shots, shoot the three, shoot the mid range, and he's tall. You know what I mean? Like Serge Ibaka gave you great minutes, but unfortunately, he was just hurt. Terrence Mann is going to have to be involved more. I feel like he will be involved more, especially with Kawhi Leonard being out. He saved the Clippers in that game 6, so why not, right? But they're going to struggle. They're going to struggle just trying to find where the pieces play. And also bringing in Eric Bledsoe. Matter of fact, before I even get to him, I'm gonna go with Reggie Jackson. I feel like Reggie Jackson is gonna come again next season. He's gonna play really well. Ernest, I'm with you. I definitely didn't see him playing that well. But the thing is, when his back's against the wall, he's gonna come out and play. I remember him being in Oklahoma. He wanted that starting position, even though Russell Westbrook was the starting point guard. He was I'm a be that guy, going out on social media saying I'm the starting point guard, and throwing jabs at the team and stuff like that. But when his back's against the wall, he's gonna play. He's gonna hoop. So I definitely see him being a really key, a really important player next year for the Clippers next year. And as far as Eric Bledsoe, I wouldn't really say this is a redemption year, but I think, like I said earlier, he's kind of got a bad rep in the league the past couple of years with his stint with Milwaukee and also playing on the Pelicans last year. And it also it kind of hurt a little bit that the Bucks won the championship and he literally was on the team the previous season. So he has a lot to prove. So that's why I just see where the Clippers stand at. And also, them losing Pat Bev, I know they lost Rondo, but them losing Pat Bev, that hurt a lot,
Yeah, it did for sure.
He was the heart and soul of that team. He kind of gave them the edge. Well, not kind of, but he was the edgy, you know what I mean? He's the guy that's gonna get in your face. He's the guy that's gonna dive for loose balls. He's gonna be the guy that's gonna take all the bullets for Kawhi and PG. After PG and Kawhi, that's the next guy you got to worry about. Even them having the Serge Ibakas and the Nicholas Batums, you had to worry about Patrick Beverley. And I think them just losing him or trading him, got just really hurt. Um, so I see them. I'm sticking with my point. I see them 40 to 45 wins this upcoming season.
Looks like we lost
Los Ernest.
Armastradamus.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically he's at 45 to 50 wins, around that. And second round team back on.
Nah, I'm here, guys. I'm here.
You guys still hear me?
Okay. Yeah, we can hear you. Lost for a
Okay.
little bit.
Okay.
Oh, so you want to continue on? Finish with your
Nah,
point.
I heard he made his point. I think Luke cut off. We could go to the next team though.
Yeah. All right.
All right. So the next. All right. So move on to the next team. The team the Clippers play in the first round. We're taking the 7 games. Dallas Mavericks. Got a new coach, Jason Kidd. There was time for a little for coaching change, just because they need a new voice. And plus, you got one of the best players in the league, Luka Doncic. MVP candidate, signed a Supermax. He got the Supermax extension, so he's going to be there for the next 5 years. 42 and 30 last year. Lost in the first round, 7 games. Tim Hardaway Jr., Dorian Finney-Smith, Trey Burke. They added Reggie Bullock. They needed someone who could shoot, who can catch and shoot the threes, take some pressure off of Luka. Who else? I think also this is gonna be another wild card on this roster is gonna be Porzingis. Now, so far he's had a quiet off season. No news about him injury wise, off the court wise. He has had issues with that last couple of years. Also, it's been a couple of years since that big trade coming from New York to Dallas. So he's starting to ease into his environment a little bit more. I think him and Luca, they really need to start repairing that relationship because they're gonna need each other, especially since going back to the 82 game season. They're gonna need each other more so they can at least have a chance to compete in the Western Conference. I see Luca again having another big season. I could see him being in the top 5 in MVP, All Star. I think he's going to be rejuvenated just by having Jason Kidd as his head coach. I think Kidd's gonna give Luca more of a free range to be more assertive and be more of a playmaker. I thought him and Carlisle kind of clashed last couple of years, especially last year, and it kind of even though he had a really good season, I wanted to see him do a little bit more. I know he had a big playoff series against the Clippers. He had a couple 40-point games during that series, but I just felt like Rick Carlisle was him the fit between Luka and Rick Carlisle didn't mesh well. There was a little I have a sense in a little bit friction between them two. I think the fact that Jason Kidd was a former point guard and an All NBA point guard, it's going to help out Luka even more. He's going to take his game to a whole nother level. And I think this Mavericks team is going to be real dangerous. They're going to steal some wins in the regular season. I could see them finishing in the top 5 in the West. They can give teams in the top half of the Western Conference some really fits. They can give them a hard time in the playoffs, depending on the matchups. This Mavericks team could be a real scary team in the West. I can see them finishing between 49 to 53 wins.
Wow.
I know I'm going out on a limb, but I just think that the kid dynamic with Luka it's gonna open up. It's gonna unlock Luka even more than we've been seeing the last couple of years.
Here's, I mean, nah, that's surprising. I don't think they're gonna win that many games, but
Yeah,
Luka doesn't play defense. Um, he's not a great defender at all. So yes, offensively, he will be a juggernaut. I think. I definitely think he'll be in the conversation for MVP. But this won't work if him and Porzingis cannot make it work on the floor.
right.
Um, Porzingis rubs me off as a guy, maybe, and I don't know him, but perception wise is, and all the complaints and the reports and things that been said and reported. Excuse me, he wants to be the guy. And I don't know if Jason Kidd can mend that, and he probably can, right? He's a Hall of Fame, he's a Hall of Fame point guard. He's been a good coach before in Brooklyn and Milwaukee. Jason Kidd is a great developmental coach. I think he's going to allow Luka to see things he's never thought of before. But again, I don't know if this is going to help the relationship between Luka and Porzingis. Porzingis, I have to see stay healthy. I heard over a podcast by Brian Windhorst on the Hoop Collective that Tim McMahon, the insider for the Mavericks, he had said that Porzingis looks better, he looks healthy, so he's expecting him to have a better big year. And we have to see, right? Now, if you look at their roster, right, their starting center is Willie Cauley-Stein, correct?
I think so, yeah. Or Josh Powell. No,
or
Powell.
Dwight Powell. Probably Dwight Powell will be their starting center. Then you're gonna have Porzingis as your 4, right? Your small forward. Like, where's the depth at the small forward spot?
Well, they got Reggie Bullock, so they're gonna use that 3-and-D.
But Reggie Bullock is an undersized guard. If you're gonna put him against big strong guards or wings, he's undersized in the West. So and his offense is strictly predicated on catch and shoot. I just don't think their roster is enough to be contenders.
Right.
Luka is gonna have to play like 07 LeBron to me. In order for them to be considered a contender in the West. Are they a playoff team? Absolutely, they are. But I do not think they're contenders, nor do I think they'll win north of 50 games. I just think their defense will be too suspect. They don't have enough defensive like-minded players. And I'm just interested to see what Jason Kidd is going to do with the chemistry with Porzingis and Luka. And again, I could be wrong, right? This can go really well, but it can go really bad. So, I'm torn, but I'm gonna say they're because the Clippers will drop, in my opinion. I can see them being a 4th or 15th in the West.
Okay. So I feel like Jason Kidd is going to help out Luka. I don't know about the whole Luka and Porzingis thing. And I just feel like Porzingis, you can't beat a guy on a team like that, especially when you have Luka Doncic, who's a young ascending player. He's an MVP candidate. And if you are trying to be the guy on the team, like, I can't think of many teams where you're going to go there and still contend or still compete for a championship. Like, you might as well go to a rebuilding team. And I don't think any rebuilding team is like, all right, yeah, we'll take Porzingis and have you go through another 3 years to rebuild. I don't see that happening. And I also feel like in the playoffs, like, just asserting yourself, that's another thing too. Like, there was times where Boban was looking like the better player than Porzingis, like, because he played so well off of Luka's game. And I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, damn, if Porzingis plays off of Luka like that, like the way Boban was playing, they would have been all right. You know, they probably would have beat the Clippers. You know, but it was still up in the air. But still, like, it's all about asserting yourself. Like Porzingis, you can't be out here missing layups, getting 8 points for the game. Like, dude, like when you was in New York, they was calling you a Porzingis god, right? And when you came to Dallas, what the hell happened? You know, especially in that playoff series. You know, and but the next thing I'm going to say is, I guess that kind of ties in is that Luka needs help. You know, like outside of, we don't know what KP we're getting, right? And we know what Tim Hardaway Jr. could do, but outside of that, it's like, who else? Like, I can see Luka being very ball dominant again. He's a one-man show, and that's why I have the Mavericks where I have him, and that's 40 to 45 wins, because he's going to have to put the team on his back again. Until I can see them possibly get another guy, I don't know who's going to be. I don't know what's going to have to do to get that person, but it's going to be a one-man show. The same thing that we've seen when it was playing against the Clippers. He had to constantly drop 40, 10 assists a game just to even be competitive in the game. And we all seen that when Luka got subbed out the game, the Mavericks was treading water. They didn't know what to do. They couldn't stop anybody on defense. Kawhi Leonard, even though most players can't stop him, same thing with PG. Like, you know, they had no answer for them. It was kind of like, all right, just sub Luka back in the game. You know, it was kind of like a high school team. You got the best player, he gets subbed out on the bench. It's like, all right, like the whole crowd is chanting Luka, 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 get him back in the game. So that when he gets back in the game, you know, good things happens for the Mavericks. But outside of those two, who else? And I can't really say two, because I know, like I said, I don't know what KP we're getting. But if we just got Luka being a one-man show, yeah, they're going to make it to the playoffs, but it's going to be the same thing. They wouldn't get far. And also, like, I've been hearing rumblings about them having, if it doesn't work out, if this whole Luka and KP thing doesn't work out, like, KP's also on the trading block as well, too. So, like, who do you bring in? Like, do you, I don't know, you could do that. What do y'all think about Karl Anthony Towns?
Cat would be really good with Luka.
That would be an interesting move, though. An interesting move.
Yeah, that would be a blockbuster, because I'll talk about Cat later. But but yeah, like that's where I got the Mavericks at, just because of those situations. It's gonna be a one man show. We don't know the relationship between KP and Luka. Jason Kidd is gonna do well for Luka, but I don't know as far as KP. So that's just something that they're gonna have to figure out. So I got him in the play-in, about 40 to 45 wins. I know that, like, I'm doing these 5-win kind of gaps, you know, but 5 wins, 5 L's in the West could definitely make a difference. So I'll just tighten it up a little bit. I would say probably like 42 to 45 wins.
Okay. All right, so next team up. No. Well, we're gonna get to them after this team, but the elephant in the room. Is he gonna stay or is he gonna go?
I don't see him leaving.
The Portland Trailblazers.
Yeah.
At this point, I think he stays, because if that was the case, he would have been gone. He would have been traded.
Facts.
But I just think that they have no leverage of any other team who's going to take him in his contract, and the teams were not willing to shell out the amount of capital, draft capital, and the salary that they're going to take back under this contract. So I think he stays. And on top of that, I heard on a podcast that his extension didn't even kick in yet, and he's eligible for another $100 million extension. So you mean to tell me, if you're going to trade for Dame Lillard, you're going to take on this $300 million contract that hasn't kicked in yet, and we get him another $100 million extension? So that's $400 million for a player who's really good, but north of 30. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense for any team to go out there. And right now, they got a new coach, Chauncey Billups. I think they need a fresh blood after how many years under Terry Stotts. They've been in the middle of the pack in the Western Conference for how many years? I think the tandem of of CJ and Dame. I think that time is up. They
They
ran
ran
its
his course.
course.
Yep.
I think they're looking to trade McCollum um, by trade deadline. If not, then definitely by offseason of 2022. Kind of interesting roster shakeup they had. Norman Powell,
Roster shakeup.
Larry
There was no
Nance,
shakeup.
they got in a trade. No, it's the roster is kind of interesting though. Robert Covington, Larry Nance,
Tony
Patrick Patterson.
Snell.
They got Cody Zeller, Tony Snell. So this Norman Powell they got last year during for the trade deadline. Kind of a interesting roster. Also, you got Anthony Simons, who can shoot the he can shoot the he
Yo,
can
oh
shoot
my
he can shoot the ball.
God.
He can shoot it. He can light it up from downtown. So
Sheesh.
it's gonna be real interesting to see how they shake up this roster. Chauncey Billups is gonna have his hands full. Um, it's a solid team. I think they're gonna be in the middle of the pack. I can see them being in the middle of the pack or a playing team, depending on injuries and who else they trade out. It's going to be a little rough first couple of weeks under Chauncey Billups, but I can see them getting back into the flow of things a little bit. I see them win between 40 to 44, 44 wins in the playing tournament at best. I just think when all the dust settles, Dame Lillard is going to be there for the long term to because of that contract, and they're going to wind up trading CJ McCollum off to who I don't know, but we'll see how this Portland team conducts itself during the season.
Um, that team is in shambles, and I hate to say it because I'm a huge fan of Damian Lillard. After Kobe retired, like that was one player I looked at him and was just like, yo, I like what he brings to the game. I like his mentality about the game. I like the way he plays. So it's just unfortunate, like he's in this situation, and it looks like it's starting to look like he might just be a Portland Trailblazer for life. Um, and I remember at the end of last season, he posted a tweet. I can't quite remember, but like word for word, but it was something along the lines like a lot. That's when the rumor started that Dame was going to
Yeah,
get
after that,
traded.
it was
Yeah,
after that Nugget series.
The Denver series, right? That's when the rumor started that he was looking to go elsewhere, but then another kind of something surfaced where he was kind of um something about his team.
It was something like that.
Yeah, so something about his team like being structured to win, like something about like the good pieces and stuff like that. And then I'm looking at this team and I'm just like, yo, like like bro, what? Like, you know what I mean? And like I said, I understand his mentality, wanting to win on his own, like not trying to join up, go to like a team that has a stacked team, like trying to be the guy on your team. But in this league, it's going to be hard for you to do that. If you look elsewhere in the Western Conference, you got teams that have duos and big threes and stuff like that, and your team just cannot compete with that. And then that brings me back to the year that you guys they went up against the Warriors and they got swept. And I believe that, like you said, Eric, that the CJ McCollum and the Damian Lillard, that duo just kind of ran its course, just like the John Wall and Bradley Beal. Like every time I bring those two names up, those other two names come up as well too, because it's just like it's repetitive. You as a basketball fan, as an NBA fan, you could go into the season like, all right, the Portland Trailblazers, they're going to make the playoffs, but they're going to get knocked out. It's going to be the same thing, redundant, over and over and over again. So I definitely see like a trade happening with CJ McCollum. I don't know if the Trailblazers going to just like strip down the bare bone and like start over, and you still got Damian Lillard. That's going to be kind of hard to do because it's obviously clear that this man wants to win a championship, But unfortunately, he's not going to win a championship in Portland. And I don't see him going anywhere. Like you said, Eric, like if he would have been traded, it would have happened already. It would have happened during the summer, And just to look at his team, this team that he's about to start the season, which is like, all right, like y'all gonna make the playoffs, but y'all not making no noise once again. So that's my little rant about Dame. Now with Chauncey Billups coming in, like he's a fresh face. I say one thing about like new coaches, like former player, now coach, they tend to bring, and if they was a part of a team or part of a program that won a championship, like he was a part of the Pistons back in 04 when they won the championship, they tend to bring some of that with them when they coach. So but the thing is they don't have the personnel to do that. So I was going to say that the Trailblazers could be a very defensive-minded team, but they don't have that. And one thing about the West, everything is firepower. If you don't got the firepower, you're not competing in the West. But now it's kind of changed up the past couple of years. Like you also got to have that defense as well too. And I think that's what the Trailblazers are missing, that defense. So that's what I'm gonna just stop right there. Playing, I'm gonna say 40 in the same position that the Mavericks are in. 42, 44, 45 wins. That's why I see the Portland Trailblazers. They're gonna, have some crazy games. Dame's gonna have some crazy games. They're gonna make the playoffs, but just they're gonna be fighting and clawing once again.
All right, Portland. I think Damian Lillard. I don't know if he's gonna stay. I'm not so confident that he will. I think this season, for the most part, yes. I think he wants to see how this pans out, especially with a new coach, and then potentially seeing what they can do in the offseason. But I do not think for 1 second he's like I don't think he's super sold on saying I'm here to stay, and that's that.
Okay, that's fair enough. Fair enough.
So I do think he may leave, but I don't see them. They're not going to be as good. I'm going to tell you why. Because one, defensively, they're going to be suspect. Because
all right, Stephen A.
They're going to be suspect. The only defender the real good defender that they have now is Larry Nance Jr. They got in that trade. Other than that, Nurkic is not a good defender.
Great rebounder.
Great rebounder. Norman Powell's not a good defender, and he's undersized at playing the 3.
Great shooter.
But then you got redundancies because Norman Powell is CJ McCollum, and CJ McCollum is Norman Powell.
They play the same.
They play the same style. All three of them play the same style, right? So, to me, I just question their front office because if you knew that CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard weren't very successful, why would you add another player who does the same exact thing that they do? They needed to add more depth. They needed to add some defense. That they didn't do. So, even though I do like the Larry Nance addition, I think he'll be really good for them. He's going to see a lot of lobs because of just the shooting that's on the floor. But they're going to be horrible defensively. I know Chauncey Billups is going to have a big emphasis on defense in the West, especially, but I just think they don't have enough to get over the hump. Do I think Damian Lillard requested a trade mid-season? No. I just think we'll see in the offseason. He'll actually see what the team has done, and you got to see what that frustration build-up looks like. And then we'll go from there. But I got them as a playing team.
Okay. Well, it's going to be real interesting to see how this team really plays this thing out because, excuse me, because I can see a major shakeup with that roster this trade deadline or next offseason if they don't really get stuff together and really contend because I just don't see it with them as a contender. So the next team up, everyone likes to talk about them. Everyone hates them. Y'all too. Y'all know the whole spiel. Um,
Give us our respect, man.
Listen, I'm giving y'all
Give us
respect,
our
right?
respect.
Or the Lakers, 42 wins, playing team last year, lost in the first round to the Suns. Made some moves in the offseason to bolster their roster, bolster the talent, and basically they're saying it's championship season or bust. Am I
Yeah,
correct or not?
yeah,
It
Another
is
season,
championship or bust. You're
yeah,
absolutely right.
yeah.
addition of Russell Westbrook, that came out of that I didn't see that coming, knowing that they also signed Rajon Rondo back to the 20. He was there 2 years ago when they won the chip.
We got the band back together,
Him,
sorta.
Dwight Howard, Melo's on the board. Anthony Davis trying to get back healthy. THT, Braun, Wesley Matthews, Kendrick Nunn, and
I don't. We still
Malik
got Wesley.
Monk.
No, we don't have Wes
No, we
Matthews.
don't got
No,
Wesley.
No, I
no.
don't think they got Wes Matthews.
We got corner shooter Trevor Ariza.
Trevor Ariza, he's back with them.
Yes, sir.
Wayne Ellington,
Kent Bazemore.
y'all added much needed shooting with Wayne Ellington, Malik Monk, Kendrick Nunn.
We look like the NWO.
All right, so here's my take on the Lakers. I see them contending as one of the top seeds in the West. I know they upgraded on the shooting, which was much of a need. Defensively, they're not going to be as good as they were 2 years ago when they won the chip. Um, but my thing is with this roster, when you have LeBron, a healthy LeBron with a healthy Anthony Davis, along with Russell Westbrook, they're gonna take games off during the regular season. Their thing is let's 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 prepare the season for the playoffs, and then once the playoffs arrives, that's when our defense is. That's when we'll play championship defense. Um, that's where I'm at with that. Right now with the Lakers is more of they they're gonna win their fair amount of games just because of their talent. Um, they'll take off a couple games here and there because they want to rest their starters. I see them winning around 53 to 56 games.
Mm.
I know that's kind of high with this kind of roster, which is much veteran base, much older roster. Because I think the shooters that they signed with Malik Monks and the Kendrick Nuns, they're gonna give them a much more needed boost than they had last year. And also with the addition of Melo, you can spell him for a couple like 15, 20 minutes. He'll give you a good 15, 20 point game here and there, just to help you just to help out with the roster. But I think with this roster, this team is they're looking at championship, NBA Finals appearance, or it's a failed season. What are your thoughts? I need to know.
I mean, there's not much to be said. Not as in a bad thing. It's just like the writing is written on the wall. I'm pretty sure everybody's been like just everybody had their take about the Lakers like after the acquisitions and stuff like that. You know, health is number one. The defense, the depth, the shooting slash floor spacing. Like also we also recently just we traded Marc Gasol and also picked up DeAndre Jordan. So, you know, everybody has their own take about the Lakers. There's just nothing new that I'm gonna bring to the podcast today. But I'm gonna just say that the number one thing, my thing is like there's only one ball, you know, and we have a lot of guys on the team. Like when we signed the first day of free agency, when we signed Wayne Ellington, Trevor Ariza, and Kent Bazemore, I'm like, all right, okay, you know. And this is after we got Westbrook because originally we were supposed to get Buddy Hill.
Buddy Hill,
Yeah, we were supposed to get Buddy
Hill.
Hill. So I'm just like, okay, you know, all right. And then the following day, that's when Dwight and Malik Monk, like that was, and Kendrick Nunn. I'm just like, whoa, like, okay. And then Melo, and I'm like, all right now, you know, but see, all of these names, you know, like, there's only one bowl. And and there's only room for minutes for about a 10-man rotation. So Eric and Ernest, like you guys said earlier, I know what you guys were what I know what you was referring to Ernest earlier about, like, when we was talking about the Jazz, how the Jazz might creep up into the either the first or second seed. Same thing with the Suns, because the team like us might take nights off where we might just take the game off because we know we're gonna crush them, and we might end up getting beat by those teams like the Trailblazers, the Mavericks, everybody else in the Western Conference, because we're waiting for the playoffs. We're like selling Dragon Ball Z. We're just waiting there. You know what I'm saying? We waiting for everybody else to meet us. So I'm gonna just keep it short. I'm gonna just have the Lakers. So I had them at 62 wins. That's a lot. Yeah.
Nice.
I had them at 62 wins, but the low or the minimum, I say probably like 57 wins. Just because, like, obviously, like, with the circumstance of like health and but a healthy LeBron, and even though LeBron wants to prove a point that he can be 37 and still play a full season and still win the championship. Like, that's the point that he wants to prove. I can't think of any other player like in my lifetime that's been at that age and still playing multiple seasons and still playing the entire season. Like, it doesn't really happen often. So I think he has a point to prove, especially with this whole narrative, this whole wash king and stuff like that. Like, the man wants to play, especially what happened after last season, because we all know what would have happened, right? So I'm gonna just say 57 to 62 wins. I'm gonna just leave it at that.
All right, I'm gonna be real here. I'm not gonna be the overly confident Laker fan that I normally am in my personal life, because I think we'll win the championship every year. But I'm gonna be realistic. I think LeBron. No, not even LeBron. I think the key to this whole experiment is Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis, if he's healthy and if he plays at it doesn't have to be an MVP level. He just has to play like Anthony Davis. The Lakers are the best team in the West, hands down.
So what do you say? Like 24 points, 10 boards?
If he would have to do, yes, he around like 20, 25, like 24 to 26 points a game. It doesn't have to be 10 boards, because I think with the big guys that you're gonna have Dwight, and then you're gonna have Russell Westbrook scratching for rebounds too, right? Let's not forget he's a triple double guy. So I don't even think Anthony Davis will be averaging over 10 boards a game. Exactly. So he'll average around like 7 to 9 boards a game, about 3 to 4 assists. But I think he'll be a defensive player of the year candidate. If we get that Anthony Davis, the Lakers are the best team in the West and probably the best team in the league, because he is a cheat code. The same reason why we look at Kevin Durant and say he's unguardable, from a perimeter standpoint, you can say the same from an interior standpoint for Anthony Davis. So I have them penciled in as the 4th seed this year, only because, again, I think they're not going to value the regular season, but I think by far we're going to see them click, and we're going to know they're the best team in the West for sure. LeBron is going to be LeBron. I'm not concerned. I think what I would like to see more from him is better decision making. How is his defense intensity going to be? And we all know he turns it on in the playoffs. But and then obviously his shooting, his free throw shooting must improve. I don't know how many years we're going to say the same thing about LeBron and his free throw shooting, but because the detriment to this team will be that if you look at Russell Westbrook and you look at LeBron James and you couple that with Dwight Howard and you couple that with DeAndre Jordan, these guys are really not great free throw shooters.
And they have four
Um,
dudes that could get to the foul line.
right, they all four have to get to the line to kind of get their buckets. So,
Yep. You have to
um,
foul them some sort of way.
yeah, exactly. So, the free throw shooting is going to be very, very key, and I think that needs improvement. Um, so then we get to the Russ factor. The thing I like about Russell Westbrook is that if you look at what he did with the Wizards, he averaged a triple double with a bunch of G leaguers. No disrespect. Um, well, respectfully, I think I, I just think Russell Westbrook is going to open up.
Eric's reaction.
He's gonna open up so much for them. I just think it's going to be a beautiful thing to watch. Now, it will be frustrating because Russell Westbrook he's always on go mode, doesn't know how to stop. So, and I think to his own detriment, that causes him to have these bad turnovers and he creates bad shots and doesn't make great decisions all the time. But I think having LeBron there with him, and he's a little bit mature, I think he understands, hey, like, I know where I'm at right now in my career. He's going to have to understand that some nights he's going to take a step back. And LeBron's going to have to control the offense. It can't just be Russell Westbrook all the time, right? And he's going to have to let THT also run the offense because I think THT's his growth is going to be predicated on how well he can get to the basket, and then his shooting. I think THT is going to
I
have
want to see the jump shot this year.
Yeah, I think he's going to have a really good year this year.
Because I think teams are ready for him to drive to the basket.
Yeah, and then you got the mellow factor, right? The mellow factor opens up the offense in a different way. Yes, Melo's not the same guy that we know in New York or in Denver, but he's still serviceable. He can still control the post. He can shoot. He's had his best 3-point shooting career last year, so this is not an anomaly where like it's just a one-off. Situationally, when look at Carmelo Anthony and he with other stars around him, his numbers just get better because he's not the guy that you build around to win a championship, but he's an addition to a championship team and can contribute. So I think the Lakers will be a really good team, but it's going to be a lot of experiments going on. So I won't get too high and I won't get too low because there's going to be games where they're not supposed to lose, and they will lose.
Yeah,
and they're going to be games where they're down. Right, they're going to be games where they're down, and they're going to come back and win. Right, because again, the mental toughness of that team is going to be really, really good. The experience is going to be really, really good. But also at the same time, is the care for the regular season going to be there? So I can't get too excited on what may happen. Their judgment is strictly based on what they do in the playoffs and health. And with those two things, yes, they took a step back defensively by losing KCP and by losing Kuzma and losing Caruso, and losing Wes Matthews, or not re-signing him rather. You lose some of that defensiveness on the perimeter, but I think by committee they can defend. I think when it matters the most, they can actually say,
"Yeah,
it's time to lock up. It's time to put clamps on." So I got them penciled in as the 4th seed. I got them no higher-ish. They could potentially be 3, depending on what either Denver does or how the Mavericks look or whatever the case may have you. But I got them 3 or 4. I got them no lower than that. And then if all goes well, my prediction is they're going to run through the West. I think we're going to see something really extraordinary in the playoffs. I think they're going to. I just got a feeling they're going to run through the West.
2001 Lakers?
Not to that extent. Maybe 2020. Not like 5-5-5. Like not going 6 games or 7 games, right? Until they reach the finals. But I just think if Anthony Davis was like Anthony Davis, there's no one in the West that can guard him, and then you couple that with a healthy LeBron James and a healthy, motivated Russell Westbrook and a motivated Carmelo. Like all these guys have chips on their shoulders because they want to win, and the perfect guy galvanized and lead is LeBron to do that. So I think people just like to make fun of the Lakers because they're old and whatnot. People forget the Bulls who won in 1998 at an average, I think 35 years old or something like that.
Like 32, 33 something
Yeah,
like
it was
that.
32, 33. Yeah, yeah,
It
exactly.
was up there. It was up there.
Yeah.
It was up there. No one said anything. So I think now,
Because you had
like,
Michael.
right, but still, LeBron James is the Michael Jordan of our generation. Let's just keep it real.
Right.
So I think I think it's just clickbait for everyone to say that, oh, it's something to talk about, because I can guarantee you, if they win the championship, that those same people who said the Lakers are going to struggle with Russell Westbrook, who said they're too old to win, are going to call them a super team if and when they do win. So keep the same energy, as LeBron James said. Just keep the same energy. That's it. But I got them pushing as the third or fourth seed in the West. And if all goes well, they will run through the West in the playoffs. But if all goes bad, they will look bad. So
Oof.
there's my take.
Very, very interesting season coming up for the Lakers, and definitely as well for the next team up, the Golden State Warriors. I don't know about y'all, but this team could be a real wild card in the Western Conference.
That's the team that nobody wants to face.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
This team was in the play-in tournament last year, almost took out the Lakers in LA, and also lost that 8 seed playing game to Memphis. Klay Thompson is the whole wild card for me. If he comes back healthy and it's the same, and if he's the same guy from 2019, 2018 prior to that injury, this team could be real dangerous with him, Steph, Draymond, and they added back Andre Iguodala. They also added from the draft Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody, 2 young guys who NBA teams really wanted in the top half of the draft. They also got Andrew Wiggins and James Wiseman, a couple interesting pieces that they have who are also on trading blocks. This team, um, Vegas has them penciled up as around 40.5 wins. To me, that's a little bit high. They're more, I can see them finishing around 45, 46, 44 wins. A fringe playoff team around the 6 seed. A playing tournament, I can see them also, but a real dangerous team because they still got that championship DNA from 3 years ago, 4 years ago. This is an interesting team to watch. I guess, and Bob Myers, the GM, said that they're not they're, they're not trying to trade the draft picks and the young guys for established veteran, for a big star. He said that now back a couple of months ago. We'll see how that tone changes during the season. If things go, if they see an opening, if they can somehow see what's the landscape around the NBA, and if any big time player who wants out, we'll see how that goes. Because I think to me, they got 1 more year, 1 or 2 more years left at best, as far as championship window. Just because they also got the young guys with the James Wiseman, the Jonathan Kamingas, they added much more. They added younger talent, but I think they're looking to capitalize on their championship opportunity because I think they have a good 2 more years left because of Steph Curry and Draymond, and they want to get Klay Thompson back as healthy as possible. They're looking at Christmas as Klay Thompson trying to get back. We'll see. This would be a real interesting. This is going to be a real interesting team to watch during the season. So, what are your thoughts?
Um, I feel like so. What you mentioned earlier about the Warriors, about Bob Myers, like not wanting to trade draft picks for an established vet, I feel like that could be very dangerous. Associating the word leverage with the Golden State Warriors, especially of who their 2 key guys are, can be very dangerous. Like we started off talking about the Warriors, them being a wild card team, very dangerous. The team that nobody wants to play. Um, they almost knocked us out of the playoffs. Like,
If it wasn't for LeBron James's three, Steph
right.
Curry knocks you out.
So about
Yeah,
you
man.
see, you see 3 rings. You
LeBron
see
Yeah,
three
saved that
rings.
season,
yeah,
literally.
he did. He did. He
He
did.
see he seen 3 rings. But anyway, I
But you
just
know
think,
what's crazy?
go
I
ahead, real
I
quick.
wouldn't
Yeah,
have been mad
Hmm.
playing the Jazz. I think we could have beaten them though.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
But I just think, like, just like I said, leverage in the Warriors is going to be like extremely dangerous, especially with Clay coming back and Dre, and also them bringing Iggy back, who has high IQ. Like at this point, they might as well bring back Sean Livingston and
Exactly.
Andrew Bogut. Bring back
Bogut.
the rest of them. You know what I mean? I feel like there's one guy I feel like that we didn't talk about, Otto Porter. Um,
Yeah.
a nice defense, well, a nice 3D guy. He could shoot really, really well. Um, I I want to see. I feel like we didn't get the chance to really see Wiseman. Wiseman unfortunately got hurt. Um, I'm trying to see what role he plays in this whole thing. I just find it crazy that the Warriors still with Stephen Curry and a Clay Thompson and a Draymond Green on their team still managed to obtain, what is it, the number 2 pick? I'm talking about last year's draft. Still obtain a number 2 pick and pick up Wiseman. Like that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. Like this whole topic about the Warriors is just dangerous. Um, so with that being said, I'm gonna just keep it short. With that just being said, I see him like around like 45 to about like 47 wins. Um, and in the playoffs, that could be the team that nobody wants to face. Um, and like as far as like the leverage of them having picked, we'll see what they do like during the season. If there's a move that they gotta make, because I heard all different types of rumors. I heard Ben Simmons, I've heard Damian Lillard. Even though I feel like that one is really far fetched, but Ben Simmons, it could be really, really believable. Adding him to the equation, I feel like if they were to add him, that just changes the whole dynamic. Because another player who's a pass first dude. I wouldn't really say, how can I say it? IQ is high, but in terms of being aggressive, in terms of like shooting, like that's what obviously he's missing. But that's what you have Clay and Curry for. Um, but if they was to add somebody like Ben Simmons, that just changes the whole dynamic of everything. But 45 to 47 wins for me for the Golden State Warriors.
So here's the thing. Clay Thompson's not coming back till Christmas. The Warriors will be bad or subpar without him, because you're gonna add Stephen Curry is gonna have to play at MVP type of level out the
Again,
gate, and this is right out the gate. I don't know if they're gonna want
because he
to. I
started off
don't
slow last year.
right, and I don't know how well they can sustain that and waiting for Clay to come back. Then you have to see how Clay looks like, right? That's gonna take some time.
He hasn't played in 2 years.
Exactly. So I don't
Coming
know
off an Achilles.
necessarily. I
Yeah.
don't know necessarily how well
I was
they'll
saying
be,
coming up.
because they have to play their young guys. They have to play their rookies for just for rotational minutes. Um, I don't know. Missing having Clay out for already additional 30 something games before he returns is a lot of games to pick up. I do see them as a playoff team, but then I think they'll be in the playing again, but they'll just win this time go around to get in. I just don't think they'll be a contender yet. I have to see them. I don't know what trades they're going to do. They're very unpredictable, so I'm going to go with them as a playing team, getting as a 7th seed.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So the next team up, the team that got into the playoffs, the young core, young roster, John Morant, the Memphis Grizzlies. This team finished last year winning. Let me see. Hold on. Let me go back. Let me go back. Let me go back. 38 wins, 38 and 34. They beat the Spurs in the first playing game, then beat the Warriors in Golden State to get into the playoffs, and stole one game off the Utah Jazz, albeit Donovan Mitchell being injured, and then they lost the last 4 games. Pretty interesting team. Still young. John Morant, another year under him. This is what his 30th coming up. I'm looking for him to step up even more. I really like the young roster, the young core: Dylan Brooks, Desmond Bain, Kyle Anderson, aka Slow-Mo, Brendan Clark, Jaren Jackson Jr. He's going to have another full year healthy after missing most of the year last year. Tyus Jones. They're one of those teams um it's like they're young, but they have that experience, quote unquote. Last year they made the playoffs. 2 years ago they were in the bubble. They were in that playing tournament. They were in that first ever playing tournament. So it looks like they do have some sort of like playoff experience. But I want to see them make that jump to being a solid playoff contender. Do I see him actually being a solid playoff contender? Maybe this. I think there's still it needs still a few more pieces. They gotta they're much the rotation wise set. They they're pretty much solid with the point guard. With John Morant. I think they need to clean up a little bit more of the guard rotation. I really like Dylan Brooks, but even though we heard rumblings about him being in the trade rumors, I heard one trade rumor that the Knicks wanted him in a trade.
I see something about the Cavaliers too.
The Cavaliers also.
Yeah, he deaded that. John Morant deaded that.
Yeah, I see him making a couple more moves to like most of their front court. I think so because they got Steven Adams. I still think they need more just to fill out the front court with Jared Jackson Jr. I like him. I really like Xavier Tillman a lot as a power forward. Where do I see this team? Uh, they're like it's kind of tough because they can be a solid playoff team like on like a 5-6 seed, or they're like a more of a playing tournament 8, 7, 8, 9, 10. I see them finishing around 8th and ninth, around 40, 44, 43, 42 wins in a playing tournament team.
So, all right. I'm gonna start by saying Dylan Brooks is a dog.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wanted the Knicks to make that trade too for Dylan Brooks.
Yeah,
They did that.
He's a dog. I like watching him and Mitchell in that first round in the playoffs. You know, even though Mitchell was getting the superstar calls and stuff like that, you know, the shooting fouls and stuff like that. Like just seeing Dylan Brooks, like, all right, you know what? Like the refs is not feeling me. I'm gonna bring it again on defense. You know, I'm not gonna shy away from the matchup. Yeah, I'm gonna come back on offense and do my thing. He definitely had I wouldn't say a great playoff run, but like he definitely showed up, you know, and for the time being. My thing is Jaren Jackson, like just his health. I feel like if he could get healthy and we could start to see him more, I feel like the Grizzlies would be in a better place. Like not far removed from where they were last year, like in terms of being in the middle of the pack. I still see them sitting in the same area, but the thing is, I don't see anybody on the team that kind of like moves the needle for me. Like Steven Adams was a solid pickup, and every time I think of Steven Adams, I just think of how nice Russell Westbrook was having him looking during those triple double days. Like Steven Adams was 10 and 10, 15 and 10, 10 and 15, like a bruiser. You know what I mean? Do I see John Morant being a facilitator like Russell Westbrook? Not really, but I feel like Steven Adams could be like, hey, like, all right, you know, your game is sort of like your explosiveness is sort of like Russell Westbrook, you know, like just tweak a little bit so that way you can facilitate, so that way it gets Steven Adams some open looks, some hook shots, some dunks, because Steven Adams can hoop. And I would say another player I want to bring up is Brandon Clark, who's solid as well too. I feel like this Grizzlies team is going to be like some young dogs, but I don't see them like I said, being in the middle of the pack. I see him being in the play-in. I would say I had my pencil right here. I had them penciling. I would say about like 38 to 40 wins. Um, yeah, and it was. I also say another thing. It was a tough blow them losing Jonas Valanciunas or Valanciunas, because that man, especially in the play-in game against the Spurs, yo, the
Yeah,
amount
he
of
was.
boards,
Yeah,
yeah,
he was mauling the Spurs on the boards.
yeah, the amount of boards that man had. So I think it was a tough blow losing him, but you still get solid defense and rebounding and a bruiser and Steven Adams, but nothing really. They didn't really progress like dramatically. So I see them in the same place that they were last season.
Yeah, Memphis. They're. I don't know what a difference Steven Adams is going to make for them. Uh, for some reason, I don't understand why that move they made that move to me. Valanciunas was really good, or was did I miss something? Like,
Nah, you good.
so Memphis, I got to see what Jaron Jackson looks like now. He was hurt. Um, I just don't like that addition to Steven Adams. He clogs the paint for John Morant to kind of do his thing to get to the basket. Um, but I got them as a playing team again, and I hate to say it for like the third year in a row for them, but they just haven't gotten anything that makes them significantly better than last year. Um, they didn't get better at the big man position, and at the guard position, they're still the same. I expect John Morant to. I think John Morant has a chance to be in the MVP conversation this year, though.
Mm,
Hmm.
I just think he's gonna really score the ball really well. Um, but again, his team's success is gonna really be
right.
questionable. So I got them as a bottom tier ish Western Conference team just getting in the playoffs again.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So the next team up, the San Antonio Spurs. 33-39 last year was the last team in the play-in tournament and lost out to the Grizzlies. Made that big trade, the signing trade with the Chicago Bulls. DeMar DeRozan leaving, getting back Thaddeus Young. They got Doug McDermott, Alfred Ramino coming in. Zach Collins signed also is also there with the Spurs. Trey Jones, DeJounte Murray, Devin Vassell, Derek White, Lonnie Walker the fourth, Jaco Porto. Mm. The Spurs, they're in to me they're in kind of a transition mode.
Yeah.
It's more of do they still want to be a playing contender or lottery? If I'm them, I see them more as I think it's time for them to really
Rebuild.
consider pressing the reset button,
Yeah. Agree.
especially with the. I think this is gonna be last year of Rick Popovich with the Spurs. I think this is gonna be a year of when we see the actual start of transition to Becky Hammond as the head coach. Um, I just think in with this roster, you got to build around Derek White and Dejounte Murray and Bryn Forbes. Um, also got Keldon Johnson. I just think that this is a prime year for the Spurs to really hit the reset button, get draft picks, trade out their veterans with the Alpha Rico Minos. I could see him being on the block. Zach Collins, Doug McDermott. I could see them being on the trade block. Also, Daddy's Young, even though he's a solid player, he could help a playoff contender in the West or in the East. So I could see them making a move to get him out.
And they're
I
like a buyout market,
Yeah, the
something
buyout market, the trade
or
deadline.
purchase a trade. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's time for them to hit really set the reset button because the last couple of years they've been mediocre,
Mhm.
like one of those the back end playoff teams, the
After
seventh seed,
Kawhi
eighth
left,
seed.
everything just
After yeah, after I think after when Kawhi left, I think it was time for them. that year to hit the reset button. But I think having Greg Popovich there for the last couple of years, they wanted to be more competitive, which I understand that. But I think this will be probably this will be Pop's last year, and we slowly transition to the Becky Hammond era. And I just think it's time for them to hit the reset button and get younger.
Yeah.
And I see them with finishing around 38, 35 to 38 wins, and in the lottery.
So part of me, wants to say, like, never doubt Popovich, but he's on his way out the door. And we all seen what Popovich could do with young players. But the thing is, those young players that he had on those championship teams were role players to a pivotal piece on the team. So when he got there, he already had Tim Duncan, right? And during those years, like the talent started to come, and then he made him into something. But you still had Tim Duncan.
He drafted Tim Duncan.
Right. So it was just kind of like, talent was just coming, But since we don't have that pivotal piece now, it's just like, like what you said, like what do? They kind of like in purgatory right now. Like, do they try to go in for the play-in, or do they just try to just hit the reset button, hit the rebuild button? And I think it's just best that they hit the rebuild button. Like, they've been through a lot of stuff in the past couple of years with the whole first they lost Tony Parker. Like, who the hell would have thought that? Tony Parker going to Charlotte. Manu decided his days was over. The whole Kawhi Leonard situation, and then we started to hear things about the Spurs organization, about how they treated that whole situation. Them getting LaMarcus Aldridge, and then them getting that didn't work out. I feel bad for Bruce Bowen, man. Like, you had your number unretired for LaMarcus Aldridge, and he didn't do anything. But them getting DeMar DeRozan as well too, and like just nothing came out of it. So I think it's just best that they just hit the reset button. The core guys that you mentioned, they just gotta just play through them. Becky Hammond is looking like she's gonna be the head coach of the Spurs like within the next 2 years. So it's happening. So there's a dramatic change to the Spurs, and this is, as my days watching basketball, this is just something that I just never seen before. So they're kind of like in unfamiliar territory. But so with that being said, I would just say probably like about 32 to 35 wins for the Spurs. I would just say it again, just never doubt Pop. You never know what can happen, but that's my take on it.
Spurs got to sell. Sell. Sell it all. They are not going to be good. You need to rebuild. You need to start over. Trade DeJounte Murray. I think they need to focus on the draft. Popovich era is over. That's done. I just think they need to go in a new direction. None of those players, probably outside of White and Murray, and maybe Colin, not even like that team is just I can't get a read on them.
Yeah.
I don't know what their approach is to the game as far as like their style of play. I don't know what, because they're not a great 3-point shooting team. They're not a great defending team.
They're kind of just there.
They're going to be one of the worst teams in the West for sure. I don't even see them fighting for contention to get in the play-in. And listen, Popovich had a great career. I think it's time he hangs it up. I got them as a 25 win team.
All right, so next up, the Pelicans. 31 wins last year, failed to make the play-in tournament. Real disappointing.
This team gets me so mad.
They just annoy me because they
have so much potential.
They have a generational talent in Zion Williamson, and what they do in the offseason.
Brandon Ingram.
Nah, that's all right. They can have that. We got AD.
Okay, so first of all, you let Lonzo go for nothing, not even in a trade, and who they get back? Devontae Graham. Now, what kind of sense does that make? I don't know. Okay. Now, you also on top of that, you got Kira Lewis. He needs to miss in the starting guard rotation, and now you pair with Zion with Jonas Valanciunas. How's that going to work? I don't know. Saturansky, Garrett Temple. Um, like, what, 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 what's what is their plan? I need to know their plan. They also got Jackson Hayes in the front court, and remember Winya Gabriel, who's taught y'all in the playoff bubble last couple years ago. Uh, um, and they also got a new coach,
Willie Green.
Willie Green, right? This Willie Green, right? The new coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
if it's me, but they're really trying. They're really trying hard to let another one of the generational players out of their franchise, like they did with Anthony Davis, like they did with Chris Paul.
Yep.
They're on their way to doing it with Zion, and to me, and also you heard. I don't know if you heard about this. If you heard this rumor that in the next couple of years they're in jeopardy of moving the franchise out of New Orleans
What
to
do you,
Seattle. So we got that situation brewing. So
uh-oh.
I just don't know where the franchise is going. I don't know.
Seattle, stand up.
I don't know where this the front office, what their plan is for this team. You have Zion Williamson, the number one pick from 2 years ago. He hasn't made the playoffs and is on his third coach in his 3 years.
Not a good look.
That's a red flag. And this organization, they need to shape it up now, or else
Yep.
they're gonna unless because Zion Williamson is up for a rookie extension. It would not surprise me if he turns down the rookie extension, signs a qualifying offer, goes to almost to the free agent, and then you lose him for nothing again. So I don't know what. I don't know. I don't know about this franchise. Help me out. I need answers.
Like I said, this team gets me so mad, especially last year because, like I said, this team had just so much potential. You know, they had this is the Laker fan in me. You know, them receiving Lonzo Ball, them receiving Josh Hart, them receiving Brandon Ingram. You're also adding Zion Williamson into the mix, and then also Steven Adams. Even though Steven Adams is not there anymore, now you got Jonas Valanciunas, and you remove Lonzo Ball from the equation. It's like, all right, okay, like what do you do now? You know, and what you mentioned about Zion Williamson being in the league for 3 years and on his third coach, that's not a good sign. It's looking like another LeBron James situation again, you know, where he's just failing to win, failing to get the right support around him. And especially now that you mentioned that the Pelicans might be on their way to Seattle, it's just like, all right.
But there are rumors, so it's not.
Well,
so,
yeah,
yeah.
rumors. Well, rumors about it. It's just like, all right, y'all gonna have to shape up soon, because y'all have a generational talent could be out the door again for the third time. I'm gonna just leave it at that. But like I said, this team like really frustrates me, especially last year. But
And mind you, all those games they lost in the fourth quarter with the leads.
yeah, and that also goes with experience as well too. But you would think they will learn. And I thought they was actually going to do something. Them having Steve Van Gundy, Stan. I'm thinking of Jeff, but Stan Van Gundy. But you know, we see how that happened. And Willie Green, like I said earlier about Chauncey Billups, you know, whenever you have but Willie Green's been coaching for a while too. Well, assistant coach with the Suns and with the Warriors, so he's going to try to bring some of that element, especially having a core of young guys. I feel like it's kind of a pro and a con. You know, you can reach them, and then again, you cannot reach them because you can either come from a background where he has experience to prove it. You know, he's been a part of 2 organizations who had deep runs in the playoffs, so you can speak to that. And then again, it's just like, all right, you know, we see you as a young coach, like why do we have to listen to you? You know, this is your first time being in the head coaching position, so it could go one or the other. But with the Pelicans, I see him like just right outside the play-in, probably 10th, 11th seed, probably around like maybe 30 to 32 wins.
Oh, the lowly poverty franchise of the Pelicans. So, guys, listen up. So the Pelicans, here's the thing. Zion is going to leave. I think that's going to happen. I don't think Brandon Ingram stays there long term as well. I just feel like he's not. I just don't see him. I don't know if him and Zion is going to work long term.
Right.
So I think Brandon Ingram he can grow into being a number 2. But I just think with him and Zion right now, I just don't like the fit. I don't know what they were doing in the offseason. Well, no, I do know what they were doing in the offseason. They were swinging for the fences to get Kyle Lowry, and it didn't happen. And they didn't have a plan B. That was their problem. If I was them, I would have went after Dennis Schroeder. Just to fill in for the time being, because Devontae Graham's your starting point guard is not going to cut it.
He's more of a 6-man.
Yeah, exactly. So I just feel like it's either that or I like John Wall with them too. They have pieces they can give to Houston, and I think Houston would like maybe Josh Hart, or they would like. I don't know. Brandon Ingram wouldn't work there because you have Jalen Green, and then you also have Kevin Porter Jr.
It's a lot of clashes. A lot of clashes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I feel as if that if you look at it, I think there are going to be moves that's going to be made. I think they're gonna realize that they need to either sell or buy selling, if that makes sense, right? Meaning either trading Brandon Ingram for better pieces to fit around Zion to kind of make him more happy, or
buy more traffics.
Yeah, they have to figure something out, because if they don't, Zion is out of there. He's not going to stay there. I don't know if they'll make the playoffs again. But it's frustrating because they have the talent to do so.
Exactly.
But I just don't think it'll come to fruition. I got them again teetering at the bottom. Again, not making the playoffs. That's just me.
All right, next up, the Sacramento Kings.
The Queens.
The Queens of the West.
Good. 31-41. Missed the play-in tournament. I just don't know what direction this team wants to go to. Also, they're also one of those franchises that broke.
We've been saying that for a while, though.
It's been. It's amazing to me that no one gives them that slander, but this team has not made the playoffs since 2006.
Because we used to say the same thing about the Suns and the Wolves.
Yeah, facts.
You mean to tell me they had all those draft picks, all those coaches? They had the George Karl one time. Who else was one of the coaches for the Kings?
Did they have Mike Malone at one point?
Mike Malone.
Yep.
You traded away what's his name, DeMarcus Cousins.
And
And they have not made the playoffs since 2006. They still have. They kept Luke Walton as head coach. Why, I don't know. I don't know what they see in them. Y'all explain it to me.
I don't know.
Looking at their roster, the Marvin Bagleys, the Harrison Barnes, the De'Aaron Foxes who signed the max extension, the Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, Rashawn Holmes who also signed extension. I mean, there should be no excuses for them not to at least be competitive and make a playing tournament this year. But knowing them, it'd be the Sacramento Kings. They'll probably trade away. They already got Marvin Bagley as one of them on the
Trading
trading block,
blocks.
and
Yep.
also Buddy Hield earlier. They have him on the trading block, so who knows what's going to happen to them during the season. Um, they got a young core. They got a nice young core, but again, another team that's going to fall short of the playoffs, and also fall short. You know what? I got I can see him making the playing tournament. I just think it's time for them to like really get the act together and be competitive and start winning games and make the playoffs. At least do that for your franchise and for your fan base. Because enough is enough of this franchise. They also got Davion Mitchell in the draft, which was a questionable draft because you got
Darren Fox.
Aaron Fox. So yeah, but
So with that being said, would you put Darren Fox on the trading block? I feel like it's too soon to hit the reset button on him.
I know it's too soon, but they hit the reset button so many times. Like, like I'm trying to take away the reset button. It's like no, it's like stop it.
You can't get
Either
your
you have
quarter
a
out the
plan,
machine.
either you have a plan, you stick with it, or else. So I could see him winning around between 31 and 35 games. It'd be close. They'll be competitive. They'll be close to a playing tournament, but that's it. That's all I got with them.
Uh, I'm gonna keep it short. My thing with this team is I don't know. That's because the Kings been with this path for like the past couple of years. I guess you could call it the easy way out, but just simply just you know since this team hasn't made the playoffs since 2006, and they in between that period of time, they had some really solid players for their team. Tyreek Evans, DeMarcus Cousins, and they had nothing to show for it. So I see what you're saying, Eric, about this team having like the talent because I'm sitting here looking at the names. You got Kyle Guy, Harrison Barnes, Rashawn Holmes, Marvin Bagley, who might be on the trading block, Halliburton. Like they have some solid pieces, but the thing is that, and they also got Luke Walton. But the thing is the Kings going to be doing Kings like things, you know? So that's just my issue with this team, and I don't see them like touching this, sniffing the play-in. I would say 20 to 25 wins.
Man, is it? Look, man. Let's be real. Let's be real. Let's be real. The Kings are going to be terrible. Nothing about them. Nothing about them gives me any confidence that they are going to be competitive. Nothing about them tells me that they actually want to win. And we know who the coach is. So, with that being said, I'm not going to spend much time on this team. They will not make the playoffs. There will be a lottery team, and I guarantee you, Buddy Hield and or Marvin Bagley will be out of it. So
Yep.
let's just put it that way. Keep it going.
Carry
All
on.
Yeah, carry the hell on. It's the Kings.
All right. So the
What are we doing
next team up, the Minnesota Timberwolves. 23 wins last year. Um, kind of an interesting roster they have here. Carl Anthony Towns. They still have D'Angelo Russell. Anthony Edwards. He's gonna be a monster. He was a monster last year, rookie of the year last year. He's gonna be a monster last year. He grew 2 inches last time I checked. He was six. He said he's now 6'8". So you can have another monster season for them. Also, they're hearing him in the trade talks with trying to get Ben Simmons. So we'll see how that goes.
Damn, they gonna send them to Wasteland? Shit.
I mean, it's they got Patrick Beverly in that trade. So let's see how he gels with the young roster. Malik Beasley, Jared Vanderbilt, who's signing an extension. Young team. I see him winning more than 26 games, 27 games. Lottery team. I can see him being a lottery team. And I think they need to trade off a couple pieces just to reshape that roster. What are your thoughts?
Free call Anthony Towns. Free call Anthony Towns. I think it's gotten to that point where he deserves to be in a better position, with a better team. Um, yeah, just free call Anthony Towns. I know we mentioned earlier about Porzingis. Yeah, I think I would like that fit with Luca and Cat a whole lot more than what they have now. It'll be actually interesting to see. But I feel like they should just is I feel like they should ship Cat out of there. Is D'Lo on the trading block? Like, what's up with him? I feel like last year he was just like plagued with injuries. I feel like we didn't really get to see him and Cat on the floor at the same time as much, you know. And I heard that there was rumors that they was trying to somehow either play with Devin Booker or something like that. I don't feel like that's going to happen. Who knows? Maybe late in the career, something like that. But like, what's up with him? Like, is he on a trading block? Like what's going on? You know, I feel like there's just it's not much happening in Minnesota. It's almost like outside of like the Pat Beverly trade, but it's almost kind of like too quiet. You know what I mean? Like, what's up with these guys? But then again, the Wolves, outside of that year with Jimmy Butler was there, like they kind of just fell back to being.
That was the one playoff appearance.
It's 2004.
Yeah, with Tibbs
Right.
and Jimmy Butler and them.
Right. So it's just like, you know, they go back to the same team that they were like before that season before that. So with that being said, I'm gonna just go with about 23 to 25 wins for the Timberwolves. Free call Anthony Towns.
Yeah, I think it's time they trade Karl Anthony Towns. I think it's they got to let that go, and get some pieces for him. And I think you got to build around Anthony Edwards. You got to just say, you know what, like we've tried this for years, and I think it's time. Where Karl Anthony Towns goes, I could see Portland. I could see somewhere in the East.
That would be crazy.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hey, listen, you give up Nurkic and CJ. Whatever picks, however you make the money work. And
Spring
you send
some role plays in it. Hell yeah.
Yeah, you send him there. So I until then, they're gonna be again a bottom feeder. They're not gonna make the playoffs. They'll be semi-competitive, but they'll be at the bottom of the barrel again.
Okay. Next team up, the Oklahoma City Thunder.
That's the last team? Sheesh.
No, we got one more.
One more left.
Okay.
All right, so this team with 8 million draft picks in the next 15 years. Last year finished up. Hold on one moment. Let me get last year's record. They finished with
22 and 50.
22 wins. Lottery, definite. Yes. Lottery team. They're gonna fight with the Houston Rockets for the top 3 picks. Finishing in the top 3 for the lottery. They're building around Shea Gillis, but I'm not sure how long he's gonna stay there. They signed to that max rookie extension. They traded for Kemba Walker and then bought him out, which was surprising. Knowing how Stan Presti wants draft picks for every trade he wants, I'm surprised he made that move. and I'm happy, and I'm very happy the Knicks made that move. So they signed him to an $18 million deal. I'm happy with that. Young nucleus: Shea Gillis, Lou Dort, Poku, Theo Maladon. Derek Favors is with the Thunder, but I think he's going to be shipped out for more draft picks. Muscala, Darius Baisley. It's a very, very young roster. and it's kind of amazing how that franchise went from title contender with KD, Russ, Serge, James Harden, and then they traded for Russ, and then traded for Paul George, but didn't even get a chance to win the championship. Now, and also had Chris Paul a couple years ago. Now they're in full rebuild mode. They last year they started the tank. This year I expect more of a tank from them. Um, I could see John Wall going to Oklahoma City, but also in exchange for more picks, they're gonna let him go. That's my hot take. I could see John Wall getting traded to the Thunder, but turn around and get traded to a contender for more picks. I guess I see him.
He getting siped like a spliff.
Yeah. So I see him winning no more than 25 games. 22 to 25 games.
Yeah.
Another lottery season. Probably fight with the Houston Rockets and Orlando Magic. And another probably one of those about Cleveland Cavaliers for the top 5 pick.
Yeah, I got him as a bottom feeder of the Western Conference, around like about 20-25 wins as well. The same thing I said about the Warriors earlier. Well, before I get into that, the point that you made about like how the Thunder went from having KD, Russ, Harden, Ibaka. A lot can happen. 5 years is a long time, but also a short time as well, too. Like, it's crazy, especially in today's game. Like, I think we're not going to see like players like Dirk Nowitzki, Tim Duncan, Kobe stick around with one team for a very long time, and that's just the way it is. But I just wanted to make that point. But as far as like what I said earlier about the Golden State Warriors having leverage is going to be very dangerous. I'm not saying that the Thunder is going to be dangerous this season. I'm saying later on, a few seasons from now, start to rack up draft picks, you could flip it into assets or good quality players. It's kind of like the Celtics were a couple years ago. So it's kind of like they got a win-win right now. Like they cannot lose in this situation. So obviously right now, don't see them making any noise. I'm interested to see Josh Giddey. I'm interested to see him.
Yeah.
But I'm also like, I don't think Shea is going to stick around for a long period of time. Like, I think it's like they're going to hit the massive reset button again and start from scratch again. Flip him for some more assets, more draft picks. So that way later down the line, Thunder's going to be a team not to mess with in the next couple of years. But about 23 wins for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Fighting for the lottery. In the lottery.
I mean, this is going to be short. They're going to suck. I don't see. They're going to just stock up more draft picks. They're going to stock up more trade assets. They're just going to be they're like the extra professional development league. Like they're the team for that.
The G League.
Yeah, I'm not going to spend much time on this team. They're going to be horrid. They're going to be again a low end team, barely hitting 20 wins, not even playing for the lottery. The play-in, and they'll be just tanking for the lottery. Like that's just what I see.
Oh, short and sweet. All right, so the last team, the Houston Rockets, got the number 1 pick last year. No. They got the number 2 pick. I'm sorry, the number 2 pick last year. Drafted Jalen Green. And just let everyone know earlier today that John Wall's on the trading block, which makes sense because you got Kevin Porter Jr., Jalen Green. They got a very young squad. They hit the reset button last year. after what James Harden pulled off last year, you knew it was downhill from there. The second year under coach um, Silas,
Steven Silas.
Steven Silas, yes, Steven Silas.
Mhm.
Um, it's going to be another long season for them, but they picked up Kelly Olynyk. Um, we'll see how this team meshes with Jalen Green, another rookie of the year candidate. But another team that's going to be with the Timberwolves and the Thunder in the bottom of the West standings, lottery bound, yeah, around 20 to 25 wins.
I will say this team is going to be a team to watch this season because of the talent that they have. Like the talent kind of, sticks out on the paper, like in Christian Wood and and Jalen Green and Kevin Porter. Like that's going to stick out on the paper. But it's going to be a young team with a coach in his second year. Like it's just going to. There's a word that I thought of earlier when I was thinking in my head about the Rockets, but I can't figure it out right now. But it's going to be a mess. It's going to be a mess. And all of these players are going to like try to fight for I'm the guy. You know what I mean? Like because right now, they're in rebuild mode, and I think that's where you kind of find out like who's the guy going to be. So there's going to be a lot of tugging to see who's going to be the guy. It's going to cause a lot of friction. Like I said, they're going to be a team to watch this season. But, yeah, I'm just short. 20 wins this season.
Yeah. I'm with you. I don't see a path where they're good at all. We're going to keep this very short. They're gonna suck. They're just gonna suck. I'm sorry to be so candid about it, but
there's a Rockets fan watching. It's like, yo,
they're gonna suck. Listen, they're gonna be exciting, right? Because you're gonna have Jalen Green and you're gonna have Kevin Porter Jr. putting up all these points, but they're gonna be terrible defensively. John Wall is not gonna be there. They're gonna trade him for some pieces, and they're in a selling market, so they're not focused on wins or, trying to get into the playoffs. It would be nice, but I think right now their focus is on development, and they're just going to be bad because obviously that comes with the growing pain. So I do think Jalen Green will be Rookie of the Year. I do think that he will show a lot of cats because he went through the G League, how well his development has been.
Yo, he was looking pretty good in summer league.
Exactly.
Yes. He was looking polished. Yeah.
Very polished. So he'll have a complete game, but at the same time, man, I just think it won't translate to wins yet. So the Rockets will be very, very bad. Possibly they'll get the number 1 to 3 pick next year's draft, and then that'll be that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so there goes. So that covers the previews of the Western Conference. And last week we did the Eastern Conference. So we're 2 weeks away from the start of training camp. I'm sure there's gonna be a whole lot more stuff going on, a whole lot of more news going on. Also, I don't know if y'all heard earlier today, they announced that the NBA and the NBA's Players Association, the NBA players will not be mandated to be vaccinated. So keep a very close eye on that because that's going to be
the players won't be mandated.
The players won't be mandated. It was announced by Woj earlier today that the NBA players won't be mandated to take the vaccine. So
what about I know I've seen a report I think a couple of days ago about a city like I'm not going to say
New York and San Francisco.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Yeah, I was about to say Golden State, but San Francisco. Like they was mandating the vaccine. Like, does the NBA overrule the state law? Like, I think you can't do that.
I don't know, but it's gonna be interesting to see because they still have that they're gonna have those strict protocols for the players who are unvaccinated. So We'll definitely be more news coming out of that. Um, so we'll see in the coming weeks, or coming days, to see how that how that transpires. Um, any more thoughts that you wanna spill out before we end this podcast?
Nah, I think I was able to get through all my points, all my takes. Ernest,
Ernest.
My bad. Had some technical difficulties, but yes, I did see that with the MVP, the Players Association. Um, it makes sense. Um, listen. Let's get all the politics and all the political shit out the way. Let's just ball, right? I think this year we're gonna have a really good year. There's a lot of just good teams that are gonna contend. In a long time, we've had this much balance across the league, right? So, um, praying that
I
no one
feel
gets
like we
hurt.
missed that last year.
Yeah.
All
No,
the
yeah, overtime. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it was like a lot of start and stoppages and like a lot of suspensions of games, but you know,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I I think I just think this year is going to be a really good year coming up. I'm really excited for what's to come. A lot of storylines are going to be created. A lot of chaos is going to be had. Um, and listen, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
Yeah, same here. Definitely looking forward to the NBA season coming up. We're 2 weeks away from training camp. 19 days until the start of preseason, and 35 days until the start of the regular season. So the season's coming fast. NHL this season, the preseason starts next week. Baseball season, their season's winding down. Football season just started. So
the
where's
season of sports is back.
season? The sports is back. It's fall season. Weather about to be cool, and yeah,
Stay
be
in the
prepared.
crib,
Stay in the crib and
watching the
watch the
games.
games.
Hmm.
So before any night, you want to sign out.
Yeah, this is Armastradamus signing out. You guys can follow me on Instagram, also as Armastradamus as well too. Twitter's also Armastradamus as well. As you can hit me up over there. I just love to talk basketball, so yeah, we can just have a great conversation. The same way I have a conversation with these guys up on this podcast. I'm glad to have these conversations through social media, and I'm interested to hear all types of takes. Even though I'm a huge Laker fan, I could be biased at times. Like sometimes you might say something that gets me like, all right, you know what? I might not hear you right now, but I'll try to look into it and I may understand what you're talking about later. But yeah, this is Amashadam signing out.
Ernest, you want to go
Yeah,
sign out?
yeah. Live from Chicago. You know, just
Downtown.
just you can find me on Twitter, right, at Ernest Booker 88. Also find me on Instagram, live_earnestly at Instagram. Again, if you just want to hit me up, just talk basketball. I'm always up for the conversation. I'm always up for the crazy hot takes. And let us know if you got any suggestions, guys. Anything you want us to talk about.
Facts, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Opinions you guys want to hear on certain things about the NBA.
Yeah, those some
Let
questions
us
in there
know.
too.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Hit our DM at the Swoosh Hoops podcast on
Mhm.
Twitter, on Instagram as well. And let's have a conversation, man. And it's all fun, right?
It's
It's
fun to talk
casuals,
basketball. Facts.
right? We want to bring casuals and actual ball players and knowledge players together, and just have a conversation, right? So tune into next week as we talk about our season awards, right? And who do we predict will have a breakout year? Um, and we'll get into more specifics of players and expectation of play of the stars of the league and what we expect them to do this upcoming season. So tune in, a lot of good content coming, and we're just getting started.
Yep. Yes, this is me signing off. EricL. You can also catch me on Twitter at EricL Beats, Instagram EricL Beats. Also, this podcast. We have our own Twitter account at the Swoosh Hoops Pod. So follow us on there. Also follow us on Instagram at the Swoosh Hoop at hold on, let me just make sure I get the correct
For the Instagram, it's
Instagram.
the Swoosh Hoops podcast.
The Swoosh Hoops podcast. Catch us up on Instagram. Also, follow our podcast. It's available on Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcasts, also on Breaker Audio. So if you missed the live stream on YouTube, catch us on those stream platforms on my podcast. It'll be up sometime later tonight or later this week. Also, the YouTube channel, we create a new YouTube channel, the Swoosh Hoops podcast on the YouTube channel. So also look out for that. So yeah, tune in next week, same time, same place, 7:00. Other than that, we'll see y'all next week.
All right, we're out.
We
Peace,
out.
guys.
Peace.